Okay, so this is the discussion thread that I thought was very interesting. I want to talk about today. It's from 3 days ago, posted on FFXIV discussion by Kaiser. It says, do expansions start out with too little to do? The max level experience seems to fall short of the hype of a new expansion. And it's just some food for thought. Just some different aspects of this that I would like to dig into a little bit with you and get your opinions on it. Because I think there's a lot of different aspects to why there's more content at the beginning of expansion. I mean, sorry, more stuff generally by the time you get to an expansion's end, near the end of its life cycle compared to the beginning. But let's just get started. It says, this is going to come off as ranty, but I've been thinking about it a lot. I'm bad at putting into words. I've been wondering what makes me feel weird about the expansion of the game. I'm curious if other people feel the same way. Before an expansion drops, hype levels are at a maximum. People are grinding out Eureka or Bozja or are mount farming or power leveling. It feels like we're playing an MMO. Now, and by the way, by reading this doesn't necessarily mean I agree with everything that's being said. I want to dig into what's being said, okay? I could play for hundreds of hours trying to do whatever I needed to do to prep for the expansion. Then the expansion hits. The story's incredible. It breaks your brain. It's an awesome experience. Then you hit max level, and you have 2 dungeons and 2 extremes waiting for you. Raids give you 4 easy fights, and 4 that you need a static or wicked mental fortitude to complete in Party Finder. Well, the first 2 are pretty easy to complete in Party Finder. P3S, I would not recommend. Like, honestly, so much respect to the people that, if you cleared P3S in Party Finder, like, I salute you. I salute you. You made it past ads prog in Party Finder. You deserve a medal for that. A few months by, and you get 1 alliance raid and another extreme. I feel like there's a bunch of time spent getting your character leveled up, not much to do, especially as a more casual player once you get there. Like, the follow-through for all the hype build-up is to have you wait a year before any possible new MMO elements come out. I feel like I shouldn't be upset because I love XV, but I can't help but feel like Square Enix doesn't give us quite enough game to play once the story and leveling are over. Like, aside from Savage Turns, it feels like I'd be better off putting the game down for a year until enough max level content has been added to be justified calling it expansion. Now, it's been 7 months. I almost feel like the MMO experience falls short of what we should have on day 1. Now, one thing I want to say right off the bat here is that I feel like we do get a lot of content in Final Fantasy XIV. But like, not everything that's added is always all things that you personally like or are interested in, like that you personally want to do. Because the game is not about giving you things that you need to do, but it gives you an array of things, and you have to decide what you want to do most of the time. It's not going to push you into doing a particular thing. It's not going to make you do a lot of different things or even try a lot of different things. It's pretty much up to you. And if you're in a situation where you don't care about some of the new things that are on offer, then you might feel like, well, what is there for me right now? Should I just wait longer? You know, like us. There's a lot of people that keep themselves quite busy with crafting and gathering. There's people that are busy with Dragon Song or with Savage. There's people that are getting all their gold saucer prizes, that are doing the mentor roulette mount stuff. Or like me, I'm going for Necromancer. So that's something to keep in mind. Like, you think maybe they just want a relic grind earlier. So yeah, going down and looking into this thread, that is what a lot of this conversation, I think, is centered around, is about the relic, when we get the relic being traditionally that thing that we do, that's like the expansion long feature that's meant to sink a lot of time into it. If you want something to sink a lot of time into, that's going to feel rewarding, right? Somebody said, yeah, it's a problem inherent to almost the entire first year of an expansion. It doesn't help that the stuff with longer shelf life, this is the top comment, like exploratory zones or deep dungeons are usually released with patch 0.3 and beyond. I feel like they should definitely consider shuffling things around. Like bringing one of those bigger features to the 0.1 patch. I think that exploratory zones would be the best. I I don't know if we are getting an exploratory zone in Endwalker. I'm starting to feel like we're not. I'm starting to feel like that's not happening. Do you guys think we're gonna get it? Because I feel like we would have heard about it by now if it was even on the horizon. I sort of feel like with how large the island sanctuary is looking to be, that is what has taken up the development time that building a large exploration zone normally would. Yeah, Island Sanctuary is our zone. It does seem like that. It does seem like that. It would be good if they could clarify that for people, though, that are definitely expecting it. The content in this expansion is a little too spread out for my taste. But it has enough breathing room to where I don't feel locked in. This is it. FF14 is about breathing room. It really, like, that is baked into the design of this MMO. It is about giving you breathing room and not making you feel locked in. It is really unique in this way and almost jarring if you're used to it being a different way coming from other online, always online services. Like, it's a bit odd that FF14 is a game that is like intentionally designed to not eat up all of your time. Right. I still haven't finished all the side content along the way. I've enough to where I'm not that worried about it. But this, yeah, the guy said, this is FFXIV's thing. That's what I just said. It isn't overbearing, and it's kind of a slow burn. And most of the content isn't actually in-game eye-level progression bits, but in the world it all takes place in. And this guy goes on. I think this is like, he's more or less a casual player. But I mean, I cleared Savage a while ago, and I don't think I went that hard on it. And Dragon Song, this is not content that's designed for the majority of players to get the majority of players occupied. This is like very high-end content that I'd love to do, but you need a schedule for it. So I don't think that's really that relevant to this discussion, Dragon Song. But it's gotten worse with each expansion as they've pushed the Relic Weapons back. Here we go. This is the Relic Weapon discussion that I really wanted to get into here, about that being the thing to keep you busy, keep you occupied for a little while. The original relics were included in the base game, and the Anima weapons came out in 3.15. They weren't as interesting as the exploration zones, but at least they gave something to work towards. Listen, y'all, I feel like this is a little bit of a rose-colored glasses situation with idealizing Anima weapon and the Heavensward relic weapon grind. Okay, because I know it's easy to be like, well, before we got our relic weapons in 3.1, like a 0.15 patch, and that's really early in the expansion's life, and that's true. I think that's good to have it come out early and have it, you know, be able to work on it throughout earlier on in the lifetime of expansion. But let's not get ahead of ourselves, okay? Let's not get crazy, because like a lot of people say Anima, it was somebody in the chat just said Anima weapons were trash to grind, ultra trash to grind when it was new. I did, I mean, I joined the game in Heavensward, so I remember the Heavensward grind for those weapons, and it was brutal. Tag says, why are these people pretending as if relic grinds are the true end game and nothing else exists? As mentioned earlier, there are other jobs to play and level and other types of content like crafting and gathering. That's what I said at the beginning of this discussion. I think it's good that you bring it up again here. It's all optional, so it doesn't exist to them. It's difficult for people to acknowledge that although there is this content out there, it's like, it's about preference. It's about my personal preference. So often people feel like, well, I don't see anything that's my personal preference that's gonna fit my needs and my desires and what I wanna do right now. So I feel like I don't have anything to do. And it's okay to admit that. It is okay to admit that. That's fine. Eureka Zones were content gold mines. Oh yeah, another person acknowledging we might not get one. Might not get a Eureka Zone in Endwalker. I do not think that we will, but I also kind of have a feeling like Island Sanctuary is going to be fulfilling that niche of giving you something to do, hang out, and chill out, and some stuff to work towards within Island Sanctuary, because apparently it has its own currency system, it has its own prizes, it has its own collection stuff going on. So I have probably unreasonably high hopes for Island Sanctuary. It's always been designed that way from the start of FFXIV. Their gameplay design is proactively to allow people to stop playing for months and return when they want, while not being left behind. That's why all the time we get people coming in the chat, new people, that are like, is it too late for me to start playing FFXIV? Maybe more than any other game that exists, online game that exists, the answer is no. It is never too late, because that is baked into the design of the game. The team confirmed as much when they said they didn't want people to only play FFXIV. We have crafted gear to quickly get into modern content, tome gear to get you up to speed, savage gear for putting in the effort. Yeah, Relic releasing late every tier so it doesn't help break fights too soon. Available to anyone who puts the time in. It's BIS by the very, very end, but the BIS doesn't matter that much because it's the very, very end after all the savage has already been cleared by most people, and it's just for parsing, really. And feeling good that you have a great weapon at the end of the day, right? I wonder where they got the idea that in-game is only raids and grinding. Yeah, I wonder where they got that idea. I do wonder where they got that idea. Because that does seem to be a pretty common... It's just that, I guess, that is what tends to be talked about the most. But actually, saw somebody here in the chat, it was yesterday, somebody came in and said, hey, I saw you do BA on stream 2 weeks ago, and I just cleared BA. So, I mean, I guess it's just not maybe immediately apparent, different kinds of things that you can do. Nowadays, I feel like what a lot of casual players expect in the setting of modern games is not a long-term grind, but more of a much more short-term grind. Like, I'm not saying that everybody is completely averse to grinding, but I think that people are expecting a more palatable, more modern short-term grind than what we might have expected in the past. That's just the direction that games, I think, are heading in, and what people are generally comfortable with nowadays. You know, this game doesn't exist in a vacuum, and to maintain players, they do have to keep those factors in mind when they're designing content and looking at retention, because we saw pretty high participation in the Baja stuff, but the Baja Relic grind is completely different from the model that we had seen in Realm Reborn for the Relic, or Heaven's Ward, or even Stormblood, which were all in their own ways legitimately long ass, in some cases very painful, big pain in the ass grinds. Okay, like the Shadowbringers one really felt like a shift in difficulty and time spent compared to previous expansions. And so now I feel like we have a situation where, to cater to the modern palette for a more casual gamer, which is what Relic Weapons are intended to be, but like they want to maybe make it a little bit less time, but because it's taking less time than ever, it's coming into conflict with the traditional purpose of the Relic, which was a very long thing to do over the whole course of the expansion. Do you see what I mean? So it's like Relics are, by nature of accommodating players that it was meant for, are straying away from their original purpose. And I'm not necessarily like casting any judgment on that. It's just what I'm noticing. I'm not saying that's good or bad. It's just what I'm noticing. I personally feel like the more people that engage in it, it's probably better. If you can get more and more people to like it and say, you know, I enjoyed doing that. It was a good balance for me between a grind and having fun. And I almost feel like at this point we need some other new system to fill that niche and keep people occupied who don't want to just unsub while they wait for the big patches. I personally do think Deep Dungeon is the thing, could be the thing that comes out earlier in the lifetime of an expansion, just in general to address part of this. Since we are getting a new Deep Dungeon, that might have been good to have that a thing that comes out in the 0.1 or 0.2 patch. There is other content that you can do that I'm just not that keen on doing. And that's, again, something that people throughout the thread and all the time just do not want to acknowledge, that maybe there is a lot to do, but it's just not all to your tastes, right? It's not that there isn't a lot of content, but that there's not always content that's specifically for you and your desires. It's about what you like. And sometimes, yeah, it can suck if there's nothing new that you personally really want. But I'll also say that I think that the game is pretty bad at telling people or guiding people towards these other kinds of content that I've been bringing up and discussing here. Even old content. The game doesn't do a good job of saying, oh, well, you don't like all of the brand new Endwalker content. Well, here's a list of other things. Because there's plenty of people that don't even know that they can go unlock Palace of the Dead. They don't know that Palace of the Dead is more than just a leveling thing. They don't know about Eureka. They don't know about, like, it's just like, there's so much stuff people just... Maps. Like, almost every time that I run maps on stream, there are people that are like, I have never seen this. I did not know this existed. So I feel like that's part of the issue. Maybe there's just a ton of stuff that people aren't even clued in on. Like, who knew about how in-depth Chocobo racing was before Asmongold got involved in it and was streaming that constantly? Like, it's just, there's so much hidden stuff that you kind of need to dig for, you kind of need to search for yourself, and they could do a better job of guiding people there, but I guess since they don't, it gives me videos to make, and people will watch my videos. Maybe it would be helpful if there was some kind of, like, monthly or bi-weekly types of events that motivates you to go into certain content. Like in World of Warcraft, for example, sometimes they'll have like the buffs that gives you more XP from doing world quests, but maybe they could have like a buff that gives you more reward from doing hunts, and this would get more people to go do hunts. Or a buff that would give you like more elemental XP in Eureka, and then you can go do that, right? I don't know, just something to guide people a little bit more. Not force people to do things, but give people ideas. There should be a billboard type thing. But did you just say? Did you just say? What did you just say in here? Nico, did you just say that there should be a billboard? There should be a... No. No, dude. No. I said what I said. Well, I mean, that could work. F14 players do love billboards.